All right, good morning. Good to see everybody.
Morning.
And open it up for questions.
Ryan Averdy. Yeah, Brent, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask you about Gentry Williams and what you've seen from him, especially since what happened in the spring, but the way he's reacted to that and the chance that he's got in front of him here entering this preseason camp.
He's been on a mission. That's the best way I can describe it. He's locked in, focused, and he's not that he wasn't as a freshman, but I don't think maybe it's given him an appreciation. I haven't visited with him. Why have I noticed, a different, maybe a more locked in, zoomed in, mature, driven, ambitious, mission type of mindset. But that's what I've seen. Incredible work ethic. Teammates love him. He's got, great ceiling. All of his best football still in front of him. He's long and he's athletic. He's tough as all get out. Really talented young player. Players really respect him. He's kind of a quiet by nature, but he's got tremendous respect in the locker room.
Jenny?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brent, bringing in Emmett Jones, looks like he's a heck of a recruiter, but I'm wondering what you've seen out of him as a recruiter, what makes him pretty dynamic in that space, and then what you need from him as it relates to that group, which is a pretty young group heading into the season, just what he'll bring coaching that position.
I think he's open and honest. He's very transparent. He does a very good job from a communication standpoint. So doesn't have a hidden agenda and ultra competitive. He's tough, but he's also, he believes in kids. He believes in things that maybe they can't believe in themselves. And he's got a way to command a room and knows what he wants on the field and the type of DNA that he's looking for in regards to the type of young men that he wants in our locker room, which again aligns, very clearly with, the vision that I have. Guys that have a blue-collar mindset, great toughness. They have a selflessness about them, and they're about that work, and they're willing to be coached. But he's all hands-on, and just a great teammate on the staff, great family man. He's a doer, and he's about his business, and so. But he's incredibly approachable, and the players, he's very clear and concise at what he wants, and so he's not afraid to go and have tough conversations when he needs to, but he got tremendous reputation, in our football facility.
Yeah, Brent, you know what it's like to be a coordinator here, the scrutiny that goes with it. How do you think Jeff has handled that in his 18 months on the job?
I mean, I don't think it's any different anywhere else. It's very successful. I don't know. I don't judge that. I don't sit there and like, oh man, that's a hard, you're at a place that has high expectations and has a standard of excellence that goes along with it at both the collegiate level and the professional level. So he's been a stud. When you're confident in what you do, how you do it, what your vision is, and how you're going to get it done, and you have a plan of attack and lots of a track record, so to speak, of success. He's a very confident, both in himself and in his coaching and in his system. So I never asked him, how he's doing, but he's been great, if you ask me. And again, that's all part of that, handling all of that is all part of helping you grow as well. So, he's been wonderful, in that regard, in my opinion.
George?
Brent, there's obviously been a lot of talk about where you guys can improve on the field, competitive depth, talent, all those things. I'm wondering, when you looked back on the season, was there anything you personally said, I need to be better at this as a coach or even a person?
Yeah, my expectations are better in every single area. Even through success, you should continually be improving and getting better. And I've said that, lots of times, and so there's no area that I can't get better at. So I'm working on all of them, and my expectation is, the best version of me, year two, and but there's not any one area. As I stated earlier, I think probably something that's been affirmed. I've always said, from a football standpoint, that the further away from the ball you physically get, the less stress there is in many ways, and that's on the football field for the football players. There's much less margin for error the closer to the ball you get, with your stance, with your pad level, with your footwork, with your eyes, your hands, because everything is on you quick. And what I've learned as a head coach, and I'm kind of giggling about it, just for lots of reasons, but no agenda, but the further away from the ball you get from a personnel standpoint and your staff, the more needs need to be met, or just people are a little more needy. So I look back, I said, well, why is that? Because the people, the coaches and the players, are where are they at all the time? They're in the locker room, and they're on the field, and they're in the middle of the doing and the competing and the supporting and the responding and all that. But everybody else out here, they got life going on. And I have great appreciation and value for people that are further away from the ball, but you just got to manage, you got to manage all of their needs and their wants and things like that. So yeah, it's been good, but you spend a little more time, because I've said this as well. I'm more like a cactus that, heavy sun and a little water, and so I expect everybody through all my years and on defense, everybody's like me, right? You don't need no water and lots of sun, right? And I have been pretty good at motivating people and inspiring people to be more like me, if you will, and to just have that kind of mindset. And but that doesn't always work. And I always knew that at home. You got to change your tune when you go into your house, but you have a whole staff. Again, there's just a lot going on. Life's going on, and for me to be the best leader and head coach that I can be, I need to be mindful of all of that.
Justin on the far right.
Jaron Canick's the guy who's finding his footing last season, but where have you seen the most growth out of him since he got here? And just in terms of progression, what's his next step going to be? What are you looking for?
His confidence. He's got such an amazing work ethic. He's very hard on himself, never satisfied, always wants to get better. So he's got incredible humility, just great toughness. You can coach him hard, but man, he's put the time in, and he's always in the film room, always working on his, in the weight room and the elite recovery, nutrition. He's a gym rat. He's always at the facility. Him and Danny are like Pete and repeat, freaking frack, and I love that. That's what you want to develop. That culture of real, deep-seated brotherhood. No agenda, just love on each other. Support each other, be there for one another. Pick a man up when he's down. That's what it's all about to me. And again, I think when you recruit the right people that are seeking those things, that'll nurture that type of an environment, which to me is what playing the long ball is all about. But he's really like a pig in the mud in where he's at in his career. He doesn't have an overinflated opinion of himself, but he's confident. And but he's not threatened by anyone else. He's very much an inside-out competitor, which I think that, and not everybody, like a lot of people are not like that. They're worried about who you just brought in. They're worried about the guy next to him. They're worried about how you talk to him and how you talk to me. And that's a very dysfunctional place to be. And, and a lot of it is because people are worried about, they want to compare themselves to everybody else. And my job as a head coach is to get our guys to be inside out. And to Barry's question earlier, coach and player alike, man, we can't worry about, the opinions of people that, again, no offense, that maybe we wouldn't seek, advice from. And, to get the players that way is not an easy thing to do, because they live in the comparative world, and everybody, whether it's recruiting rankings or scholarship offers or opportunities or the burden of expectations from their parents, competition, it's neat. They go to the camps and they're getting compared nonstop. So it's a very, I think it's the thief of all joy, comparing yourself. But Jaron, flip it back to him, he doesn't go there, and at least not outwardly in any way, shape, or form. And to me, that's why I think he'll expeditiously grow and mature in his role. And a lot of guys, they can't get out of their own way. And I've said that all the time. The biggest enemy that we have as a program, and the biggest enemy that all those players are going to have for today, tomorrow, and the rest of their life is going to be about the man in the mirror. And you got to win in the mind before you win on the field. And Jaron has done that. And he'll have a much more significant role. And we'll see how that goes through competition and camp and those types of things. But he's earned the trust of the coaches and his teammates through his work and his consistency. And he's just got great habits. And when you have great habits, it leads to a lot of success. And I think that's what's in Jaron's future.
Left side, James.
In the National Football League, running backs have been in the news a lot for usage and compensation and everything. But in the college game, the running back still being used the same way, or they're being used in a different way in today's game? And what about your room and how you meet those rooms? And also, we're all praying for Julie. If you can give us a little bit of an update, that would be great. Thank you.
No, running backs, I don't know if they're used. I mean, I'm sure you use them more in the space game, but that's been going on for a little while now. And you don't see eye backs a whole lot, certainly in college. And when you do, it's like, what's that? It's like Washington right down the road here. They won a state championship, and they got those things called two tight ends on the field at once. And every once in a while, they'll put them both like in a line. Now there's three of them. There's a guard, there's a tackle, and there's this thing called a tight end. And so people don't necessarily know what to do with that. You play him in a 6, you play him in a 7, you play him in a 9. Do you knife him? It's really fun to see, evolution of college football. But, so are they used differently? Some ways, yeah. I mean, I think you see them, the good running backs have a very diverse skill set, where they can bump out wide and play like a receiver and be a real matchup issue, if you're trying to play man-to-man on a linebacker or the space game. The NFL is a big-time space game. In many ways, the college is a little more run RPO, but the space game's been a big part of college too. But the short passing game has been utilized tremendously in the NFL, and the backs are a big part of that, But I don't know. I don't sit and spend any time comparing, the NFL to college. I'm just thinking it through, though, answering your question. And you got to have, I know this, one thing that's very synonymous, you got to, more the same than not, is you got to have a stable of them. They have a short shelf life, and our roster is set up in such a way as we got a bunch of varieties of the skill sets that we love. So, we'll continue to find ways to use our guys, both, carrying the rock and out in space as well. Julie, appreciate you asking. Obviously, we got a diagnosis on June 16th that was knock you off your feet, and one that, it takes me back to talking to my mother in January of 2005 and having a stage 4 conversation, and one of those that, there's no, blueprint on how you handle that, but, our real sanctuary and our, true shelters, our faith and the power of prayer, and with so much support. And I appreciate everybody here that has reached out. It's been, nothing short of amazing, the group of people that have helped in, whether it's the doctors or administration, people I work with, our staff, our players' parents, and certainly so many friends in the Sooner Nation. So it's been great. So she had a surgery on Friday morning, and we're hopeful that we got everything, and we maybe can avoid, further, treatments such as radiation and chemotherapy. We'll find that out in the next several days, but we think it's not in her lymph node, so that's a great thing in that cancer world. So right now it was contained, and so now we're trying to help strengthen her and get her back on her feet. So appreciate. She's tough, and as I said, she's a honey badger, and she's got a medical background as a former nurse, and so she already knows the answer to the question. So get it right, Doc. And so she's amazing. So.
Brent, heard the word competitive depth a lot this morning, and in order to get there, you guys have turned this roster over in a big way in the last 20 or so months.
Yeah.
What feels different to you about this program, or where do you feel the differences in this program 20 months in with such a fresh group on hold?
Well, we actually have some experience in our systems, in the weight room, in our X's and O's, in our culture. So we have, a small foundation of guys. I think 76% of our scholarship players are either in their first or their second year at Oklahoma. So it's still when I say small percentage, relatively speaking, year 3 it'll look different, year 4 it'll look different. And but we do have some experience that can nurture all of those things. They can teach in the locker room, the culture, expectations, in the weight room, and certainly in the film room, and then out on the practice field. So that part is, different. And then again, I think we've made ourselves better. As I've expressed to our team after our last game, what my focus is and what I'm committed to bring into this locker room. I want them to have clear vision. I want my team to understand, the expectations, the values, the standards that I'm looking for in the recruiting process, and I need their help too. I might think one thing when I bring a guy in, and if he's not about the right stuff, which we had that happen with one guy, we got to coach, that ain't it. And we took a hard left-hand turn. And, I value their opinion. They matter to me. And, but I really feel like we've gotten better, through both the high school and the transfer portal. The test of time will really tell. But we brought in guys that have experience, that again brought leadership qualities that you can develop. It takes time, but they have some natural intrinsic leadership ability, and then again the humility to blend in. Last thing I want is to deal with prima donnas or guys that want something for nothing. I got to promise them to get them here something, and I'm not compromising who we are. And for our players, what I want them to know is like competition is going to make everybody better. My job is to bring in somebody every year to beat you out. That's what a championship program, that's the vision of a championship program. Your job is to worry about your opportunity and do the best with it that you can. Have the right mindset, the right attitude, the right effort, the right ability to respond, the toughness. You control all of those things. We're going to give you a lot. We're going to give you, amazing apartments and amazing nutrition and strength and conditioning and elite recovery and brand new suits. But you got to bring effort and attitude and guts and toughness. I can't give that to you. And you got to, you make a conscious decision to bring that every single day. That travels. You can put that in the suitcase and travel with that. But you can't, your stars and your scholarships and your high school accolades, your accolades from another school, you got to start completely over when you come here. And if you're not about that, then this isn't the spot for you. And so we worked hard at trying to protect the things that we're trying to build by being open and honest and transparent in recruiting too. Like what you're getting ready to do will be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Are you about that? And if you're not, don't come here. And if you don't embrace the expectations of a place like Oklahoma and the scrutiny that comes along with that, surprise, surprise, it's no different. You're out there for everybody. That's okay. Perspective is incredibly important. And I have an appreciation for it. Good. I'm glad the room's full. Good. And I want to meet those expectations. As a matter of fact, I want to exceed those expectations, and I want players that value that too. They get that.
Yeah, Brent, it can't be the only thing, obviously, but I remember when the SEC schedule was released, you talked about, I'm going to plaster this up on the wall of all the recruiting events that you guys are about to have. How has that helped for the 2024 classes and beyond, knowing that like you have something you can actually point toward and say, this is where we're going?
Yeah, no, it's careful what you wish for, right? And I say that again with much respect, and it's exciting. It's exciting to say it, all right, and because I get you charged up. I've always had this great respect for what it takes to be successful, and I've always, just like I told the team yesterday, it'll be the best game of that Arkansas State plays all year when they show up here to Norman, Oklahoma. And when you can promote Alabama and South Carolina and Tennessee, or promote going on the road to Baton Rouge or to Auburn, Alabama, or to Oxford, Alabama, or Oxford, Mississippi, it gets people charged. Your freshman year, your first game you're ever going to play, whatever that is. Because I love creating vision. I love talking about the future, and they like it when you can create vision for them so they can see it. And it's exciting. Great challenge. And as we know, that's, a year from now. But I think that's been another reason for young men and families to be interested in, University of Oklahoma. It's not been but it's been another and from a reasoning standpoint.
Hey, Brent, you kind of touched on it earlier, but you've talked about feeling more confident about the competitive depth this year, and a big reason being the first and second year guys and the talent of those players. Just when you look ahead to fall camp, especially on defense, how big of an impact do you think those first and second year guys can have? How much do you think they can push for big roles?
The first and second year guys, my expectation is they're all in the two deep, from the get-go, and based on what we've seen. And again, when we recruit them, we felt like they'd make us better. So we've got a lot of work to do, and don't like really to project a whole lot. I want to see you do it. And but we got an opportunity sitting in front of us. We got 32 days till we kick off, and we got 24 practices on the books, and that includes some jog throughs and walkthroughs, things of that nature. But everything counts, everything matters. I have high expectations for all of our whole locker room to be a much improved version of ourselves, and especially again on defense, we have 9 transfers and some excellent high school players, and then several players that maybe were in that too deep because we didn't have great depth a year ago. Not that they were easily the best guy. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But maybe weren't ready to have a bigger role a year ago that we are really counting on. Maybe a guy like a Gentry Williams is a guy like that. And I feel like I know a lot about him. I love who he is as a competitor, what's inside of his heart. And then he has talent on top of that and the toughness that you got to have. So without going through every guy, I would expect significant opportunities and roles for all the. Again, you're talking 76% of the team is first or second year scholarship guys alone. So I would expect, quite a few of them to have, strong roles.
Second row, Dean.
Those prayers up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
On a lighter note, from a purely talent standpoint, how does this bunch that you think defensively you're going to put out compare to last year? And how does it compare to your great Oklahoma and Clemson defense?
Yeah, this is, I'm going to go somewhere that you wish I didn't, but I don't love comparing those units, for lots of different reasons. It doesn't serve anybody well, but I do think that we're in a better position to play at a better level, at a higher level, at a more consistent level, at a more physical level. And there's lots of reasons. We do have some experience returning, and so I think those guys returning are better. They're more confident, more sure of themselves. They're, better in the weight room. They're better in the X's and the O's. They're better leaders. They're more comfortable. And so I expect all the returning guys to be better. That's the more you play, the longer you've been doing it, usually the better you get. And so there's that expectation. And then, again, I think that we've helped ourselves through recruiting, both in high school and the portal. And again, the test of time will tell. And but we got a lot of work to do to be good, let alone elite. And so you mentioned the elite defenses of Oklahoma and the elite defenses of Clemson. We got a lot of work to do, a lot. And but our guys are putting the work in, and we'll be there if they keep their their head down, and us as a staff continue to be honest with ourselves and find ways to constantly get better. We got to have humility and the right kind of vision, as well as the leaders and the coaches, and then believing, again, what it takes, how to develop guys, how to teach them and coach them and bring out the best in them. That's what a coach, is charged to do. But in regards to comparing, it doesn't do me any good. And again, I'm Captain Obvious, and we're not there. And but I do expect us to be, much improved. If that shows up on a stat sheet, great. But I want to be, again, I want a humble football team. I want to run the football. I want to play great defense. And until you can say those things, we're not anywhere, close to, where we need to be yet. And but. Believe in the guys and the work that they've put in over the last 6-7 months, and the improvements that we made, and both in scheme and in our development.
So I talked to Coach Bates earlier, and he was talking about Dejon Terry and just how he lives up here, always studying film, always working out. Can you talk about just some of the mentality that he's brought to the team and what we can expect from him during the 2023 season?
Well, it's one of the qualities. I fell in love with him, the first time I spoke to him, and then every conversation, it was more of the same. And for me, connecting and having somebody that, even if you're faking it, you think like I want you to think. You're hungry, you're driven, you're ambitious, you're humble, you're tough, great focus. You're a guy that's about to work. And man, every conversation I had and every question, well beyond the field, I just wanted to find out who he was as a human being, as a leader, as a young person chasing his dreams, as a teammate. That was important to me as well, and to us. And then he's, again, we haven't done a whole lot yet on the field with him, but he got all the other stuff right from a transition standpoint. And again, being a summer guy, you don't have he doesn't have a resume with us yet, when it comes to the playing and the improvement and all that kind of stuff. So, but he's all those things I just said, and that fits the mold of what we want. And again, to me, his focus and his toughness and his ambition will make that group better. I want that group to be the backbone of our football team. And it starts with attitude and love and passion for the game and the toughness that position has to represent. And, and so we had some growing up to do at that position, in my opinion, when we got here. And we're making progress and developing guys, and we're still under construction. And I'll be honest, for as long as I'm the coach at Oklahoma, we'll always be under construction. And it ain't ever good enough. And there's always ways to improve and get better. And I want guys that are in love with that process. That you really, it's when you hold that trophy up, that's a very anticlimactic moment. And the real, measure and life-lasting memories are everything you had to overcome, everything that you had to fight through, the difficulties and the challenges along the way. That's relationships. That's what it's about to me. And to have guys that are running towards that hunger and that inability to, to be satisfied. I mean, that's what I want. No matter what, man, they see you eye to eye. And we're getting more and more guys that have that. And I do believe you can develop that, but I think you have to have some natural and, again, intrinsic values that's part of your belief system, whether you knew it or not before you came.
Way back, John Hoover.
Yeah, Brent, Coach Ruth mentioned earlier, one of the things that you guys really have been angled on getting better at is getting off the field on third down, getting off the field on fourth down. Can you describe how you go about doing that? Because you can't practice the pressure and the tension and all
You
that
can.
stuff.
Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, you can. And I believe it starts with the coaches. This, if it ain't, game 7 mentality from the coaches, then it ain't going to be for the players. If it ain't the biggest third down, third and fourth down period that you've ever had in your entire life as a coach in that moment, then it's not going to be for the players. And I believe in living and dying in that moment. I believe in that. And I believe in that atmosphere. I believe coaches create that. And again, that's my belief. And that's our job, to create that environment, to create that buy-in, to create that response, to create that sense of urgency and that sense of desperation. That's how you chase excellence, and you can't compromise that. And you create that. We're in a different spot. We're in a better spot than where we were, again, 12 months ago when it comes to the understanding of what we're trying to create on that practice field. That's got to be, everybody's practicing. Everybody's got the same, 20-hour week, 8-hour week in the off season. Everybody's got the same. So how do we make it a competitive advantage? How can we be better? And again, and go right back here. And so I believe you can. I believe you can. You create great pressure. You create a winner-loser environment. You quantify that, and then you recruit to that. And guys don't want to be coached in that moment, and it's just practice, or it's not that big of a deal. Then that's not it either. We got to find the right guys that believe into that, have that type of a mindset, that kind of a hunger and a drive to be the best. And that's how I think you do it on the practice field. And so you create those, like everybody, every level of football is constantly creating situational football. But we got to be better. That's a noticeable thing. But to me, it starts with P and 10. It starts with P and 10, first and 10, win early to win late. I tell the DB in press technique, you got to win early to win late. You lose at the line, it's a wrap. You're going to watch his butt score a touchdown. And, and I believe on defense that you got to win first down and be efficient. You can't live in 2nd and 6 and 2nd and 5 and 2nd and 4. And I tell the players all the time, the play caller is as good as that second down. What's that second down look like? And the same thing on the other side of the ball. And we're constantly looking at 2nd and 10. That's a hard place to live to on offense. We're not making plays down the field or, incomplete, passes in the short passing game or whatever. That matters. You got to get into a rhythm and win early so you can win late. And so that plays into the efficiency as well. Next thing you know, it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and we're not physical like we need to be. We're not where we need to be from a physicality standpoint. You're going to get beat up. And we got beat up way too many times last year. And we got to get a lot better physically. But we got to get better earlier too. Man, we got to get better in every spot. There's no area that we don't have to improve. And again, like I said, I'll say that no matter what the rankings are and the stats say, whether they're really good and everybody loves what they read, or it's really bad like it was.
Time for just a few more. Third row on the aisle, please.
Yeah, Coach, clock will continue to run after first downs. Your thoughts on that, how that will affect you and also just game flow in general?
Yeah, I think the biggest impact will be, obviously, there's going to be fewer plays in the game. The way some of these offenses run, they can't possibly run more plays. So there's going to be less plays. And if you're an offensive guy, you think, well, that's less opportunities to score. If you're in defense, that's less plays you got to defend. Or if you're given, if you're not very good, it magnifies it even more. The average goes up, not down, if you stink. So from a management standpoint, they're not going to see great changes from that standpoint. There's less plays, less opportunity for impact and things like that. Maybe it's good for the players. you watch one of those XFL games or the NFL, and things look like they're moving in slow motion. And there's plenty of teams in the NFL that are working at a tempo pace at times, and a few that are working really fast a lot. But by and large, you see a shortened game in that 60 play range. I don't even know what the XFL, but that is like, next thing you turn it on and you go get a Coke and some popcorn, and next thing you know, it's the last drive of the game. It's kind of fun. It happens quick and fast, but I don't see a tremendous. We'll see. After going through it for a season, what needs to, or what takes place. But that's how I see it.
Health-wise, I know through spring you had a couple position groups that were carrying some injuries. Everybody full go, fired up first day of camp?
I don't think so. Let's see here. I didn't highlight injuries. Caden Helms, I think we've said he's going to be, not sure when he'll get back. Hate it for him. He works incredibly hard. He's fighting like heck to get back. And Llewellyn's been, he's been snake bit too since he's been here, but I do think he'll be back. Amika will be a little bit limited. He'll be close. I apologize, I don't have this. J.J. Hester, he won't be available for a little while. And I think Brendan Thompson had his tonsils taken out, so he'll be a few days before he gets back out there. And everybody else. So Jacob Sexton, probably he could probably be ready to play, but he's ahead of his timeline and does look terrific. But we're going to really work hard at trying to protect him because he's just naturally eager and aggressive, and we don't want to put him in a compromising position. So we're going to help with that. But sometime in the middle to later September is when he would have a full clearance, if you will. But he's ahead of the curve, to be honest with you. And Walter, you didn't see him in the spring, but he's been cleared just after the spring, and he'll be ready to go. And then defensively, so Jacob Lacey, again, he had some blood clots, and he's in a really good place. There's a lot of what you don't know, but based on, his progress and doctors and tests and things of that nature, I think you'll see him back in one of the sooner target dates. And so that might be in the latter part of September or so. And but he's doing a lot, conditioning and lifting and things, but he's in no contact right now. But he's in great spirits and in a really good place mentally. And we'll see with Phil Paya. He's a guy that's coming off an ACL during the season, and so if he may or may not have some limitations right now, I don't know if he does, but might have some collateral issues just to work through. You're going to see Shane Witter. He's fully released now, and don't see any issues at corner. And Robert Spears is, again, he's had the shoulder labrum surgery midway through spring, and we expect him to be back full speed. He's doing everything non-contact right now, and has looked great. But expect him sometime in the early part of September or so. And then McCarty, he's right on target, so we'll ease him right back into things. He's been doing really well. Unless he has some setbacks, we're going to ease him right on into fall camp and see what he can do and try to help still protect him. And my experience on the ACLs, whether, again, this is a linebacker coach that's been doing it for a while, but it usually takes 1 year from the calendar date of the injury to get back to what you were mentally, physically, all those things. And there's always exceptions to that, good and bad. But that's how I see it. Just where you get your confidence and you're not thinking about it anymore. You can react on your instincts and things like that. And and then you go from there. But I would say, and I can't say as much about Eric, but I would say that Jacob is a little further ahead of the curve, if you will, and you know, Eric has been right on target with his rehab, and I think that's everybody. Is that good enough for y'all? Well, I think we got a couple coaches on the staff with the sniffles, but.
Third row, Randall Speed. So heading into fall camp, are there any specific position battles that you're looking forward to, and what are you looking to see out of those guys?
I mean, I'm anxious to see competition everywhere. It's not, you know, I've said this, so it's not you know, news to anyone, but you know, I'm really excited to see the competition at corner. You know, Woody Washington is the only corner that's started in a college game at the Division I level, and so I'm excited to, you know, expeditiously see those battles work out, and then I think we got some great battles at safety and linebacker and up front. You know, where guys, we'll see where it all ends up, but you know, we might have a whole new lineup up across the board other than Stutzman in that front seven. We'll see. Several spots we know we will, but I'm really excited. I want to see guys respond to that competition. That's what I really want to see, is how they handle the competition, because I love coaching in those moments and I love straining in those moments, and that's how this team's going to get better. And you just don't luck up and get better. You don't luck up and you know, get to play in Arlington. You don't luck up and become a top, 20 defense. There's a lot of intentionality, a lot of toughness, a lot of sweat equity, and so I'm really looking forward to that on defense. But I believe we've got more capable players of playing, and that's what I want to see, is guys that earn trust. And like, whether you go out first or second, I want it to be a big deal. Running out first should be a big deal. That's what it's all about to me. And then making the most of your opportunity. Whatever it is role you have, value that role and make the most of it and create more opportunity for yourself. So, it's a long season. And so I'm looking for guys that are in it for the long haul. On offense, receiver I'm very anxious to see where we're at receiver in particular. I think we got a bunch of newcomers back with the guys that are returning, and some guys that were banged up maybe a year ago, guys that have an opportunity to make us better. So that's going to be exciting to watch. And I love where the bodies and the people and the ability that we have up front, on the offensive line. There's some inexperience from a starting standpoint at some overall and what we lost, but we really like the competitive depth that we have and the ability that we have with that group of guys. So, the guys that we brought in that made us better, again, whether it's, Caden Green or Josh Bates or guys that are, returning, you see a different version, of McCade than you saw a year ago from a leadership standpoint. He's a new guy a year ago. He couldn't lead, he's trying to find his way, in his own way. And then he was a role guy for us, an important role player for us a year ago. Or a young guy like a Nate Anderson that, man, he has all the ability in the world. His numbers are off the charts. And now he's working on his confidence and, and giving him opportunity to improve and get better by putting him in there and trusting him. Or we added a guy, in Walter and Troy Everett, Troy's just been the model of consistency, incredibly strong and tough and confident, but great teammate. And somebody's got Dad calling. You want me to answer it?
Oh my God.
Dad, is that your dad?
No, it's not my phone.
Should I answer it? No. Should I slide it over? Sorry, Dad, we're going to red button you. But young players, going to give me Savion Bird, Parks, some young guys. Savion's got all the ability in the world, and just to get him to play at a real consistent level, I really expect him. You all saw a little glance of him. He blocks through the whistle, and I love that, man. He loves it. and I want guys that love it. And Caleb Schaefer's another guy that's came in. He played some tackle, was probably more of an inside guy, but I see a great competition there. And Heath Ozida has been, again, it's early. We haven't kicked off practice yet, but man, we got a good one right there. His measurables are outstanding. His testing is outstanding. His mindset, man, he's just a very even keeled and very much like Caden Green, except Heath just got here. Bates is he's a wild animal, man. You got to tell him to calm down, brother. These are your teammates, and he's in the middle of all of it, And I love that too. I'd rather pull him back than have to tell him to sick him. So he's got the right mindset for it as well. And then I'm really excited about guys like a Tyler Guyton that I think hasn't been a starter per se. I think he started 3 games, but he's just learning how to play offensive line, and I think he's got a chance to have an outstanding season. And we got to be better at tight end from our depth standpoint. A year ago we had 2 guys. And we got to have more guys. You got to have tight ends that can set edges, that can protect, that can attack the middle of the field, that show up on teams. And you can't have a group of tight ends that aren't out on the field helping you become a better football team. But they should be integral parts of your special teams and an integral part of developing toughness as a football team and giving you versatility in what you can do from a presentation and a scheme standpoint. And it really handicaps you when you can't. That's my opinion as a defensive coach. So I think that we're better than where we were a year ago. We got to keep getting better. We got to recruit better. We got to develop. We got to get guys healthy, and that'll help us be a better football team as well. A lot of running backs, great group of running backs, and we've all seen a lot of things to be excited about. I go down that list with you. You all have been probably talking about them, but whether it was Caleb Hicks and Dalen Smothers, who was freshman at mid-year, and Chapman McCown, they all did some great things, or again Barnes and Sawchuck and Major. That's a good group right there that have a little bit of experience, and I just love the growth process, the maturation, the leadership development, all part of developing your team. And we got a lot of guys, a lot of buy-in. Jackson Arnold's helped us there with that group. It's a great group led by Dylan. But Jackson is he's anxious and eager, but he's willing to be led as well, and we're willing to learn and grow. He doesn't come in with a guy that has all the answers, and I love that humility, but ambition too. He's very ambitious. He's trying to create an opportunity for himself and a role for himself, and be the guy. And I love that. So I believe that we'll all that competition, and there's plenty more, but I'm looking at it from everybody's standpoint. Again, I said this before, the best receiver coming out of the spring was Gavin Freeman by long ways. And some people say, oh, then we must suck then at receiver. I don't think that's reflective of that at whatsoever. I think it's more about what Gavin Freeman brings to the table and how hard he works, how much he cares, and his talent and ability. If you look at his measurables, he's one of the fastest guys on our team. Both linear and change of direction, and you can't. Some guys. They always make the play. Some guys get open. Some guys make the tough plays, the competitive plays, and some guys don't. And they come in all shapes and sizes, and my man is wide open. He wins everything out here with Schmitty. If Schmitty stood up here right now and want to talk about Gavin Freeman, y'all be here till midnight tonight. And so I say that with all appreciation and thankfulness for Gavin and his mindset, his attitude, and what he's done. He makes everybody around him better. And so that's how I see it. Some people are like, oh man, we must really be hurting. That's not how I see it. He got all that stuff, and there's plenty more guys that have the opportunity to play and compete at a really high level. But he's the one that has stood out. The other guy that's been the motto of consistency, and not to ever take that for granted, because we're gonna miss him when he's gone, is Drake Stoops. and he's right there with him. But and Gavin will tell you everything he knows he learned from Drake, and just how to be a pro. You know, show up every day, can be consistent, and work on your weaknesses, and be a great teammate, and be thankful, and have some gratitude for your opportunity. And I want a whole locker room full of that, and that'll go a long way, as opposed to entitled. To me, the opposite of being thankful is being entitled. And we're not entitled for anything, no player, no coach, and certainly us as a program. So he epitomizes that, and I have great appreciation for that. Is that it? All right. Appreciate you all.